Tenants are feeling the same way.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we're being live streamed now. Just give me 2 or 3 seconds here to make sure we're doing what we have to do.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Eastern Shore Delegation. Today is January 30th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We could stand and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Hold on, we're saying
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Delegate Jacobs, would you offer prayer for us this morning?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. If you all would join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, today I thank you for this beautiful sunrise. I pray that those suffering from the cold will find relief and safety in their daily journey. I pray for those that are trying to get to appointments and travel will have a safe journey to their destination. I ask you to bless the teachers and educators that will be on our call this morning, and that all the legislators will have a safe travel headed home to be with their families. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Members, could I get a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from last week?
Approve the minutes.
so move.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, we're going to start today with Maryland Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Wright. Dr. Wright, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. We have a day of education, it appears. Our agenda is jam-packed, and we look forward to having you kick this off for us. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I can't think of a more important topic than education. So happy to be here and happy to share. Thanks for having us. I wanted to start by just saying it's a real pleasure to have this time with you. And thanks for the invitation. I've got my chief of staff here as well, Alex Reese. And so what we thought we would start is just kind of going over some odds and ends with you, and then we can send you these materials or deliver them to you, because we're in Annapolis usually about 3 days a week. So we can hand deliver those as well. There's been some questions being, I don't know if you've got, do you have the roles and responsibilities thing? Yeah, hang on one second. We're going to shift to another topic before we go to this one. We've been getting a lot of questions over the past year or so since I've been here from educators and people in the field saying, do I call AIB off for this, or do I call you for this, or who's responsible? So we worked with AIB over the past year to develop what you see on the screen. And it's the roles and responsibilities of both AIB and MSDE, and in some cases, the State Board of Ed. So what you see on the left-hand side, it's pillar by pillar. And what we did was we took under the responsibilities part of it, right out of the blueprint. What does the blueprint say is an expectation under pillar 1 through 5? And then over to the next column, the roles is like who takes the lead on that. So if you scroll over one more, can you scroll over one more, Alex? Yeah. And then at the very end, you will see exactly where we took it. And if it's the statute, we have quoted the statute. So we think this has been very helpful for people to really get an idea then of who does what and who to call when they have a question. So we'll make sure that you all get copies of this. As we've been meeting with legislators in Annapolis, we have been hand delivering them. So you'll have that as well. And then the next thing we wanted to go over with you is are our legislative priorities. What you see in front of you. We'll start first with the accountability system. We've been working on this accountability system for about 20 months. As you know, it's called the Maryland Report Card. It is in statute. It was put in statute in 2017. Which is not typical of how states usually hand their accountability systems. Usually they don't put them in statute because sometimes when you got to change it, you have to go back and then change the statute, which is what we're going to talk about in a second. But there's a lot of concerns expressed on the part of teachers and principals and superintendents around the accountability system. And what really brought it to my eye was the very first board meeting I ever attended. The assessment director said, we've got 76% of our schools rated as 3, 4, and 5 stars. And then she went on to say we had 48% proficiency in reading and a 26% proficiency in math. And I thought, There's no equal sign between those two statements. You can't have 76% of your schools rated highly and only have a 48% proficiency in reading and a 26% proficiency in math. So I put together an assessment and accountability task force in 2024 that worked all year on this, a very broad-based group of every stakeholder that really touches the Maryland Report Card. And they passed off their recommendations to the board in December of 24. And then all of 25, we've had an accountability advisory group, which took those recommendations and then said, well, then what do we need to change inside the system? And loud and clear, we heard from the folks, we don't give schools enough credit for growing children. We focus on proficiency, and that's a good thing, but we don't really focus on those kids that are at the very bottom. So one of the things that we want to put into the system is a measure to look at growing the bottom third of children in each and every school. And there's some other tweaks to it as well. We've worked also with MSEA because they had a very large presence in crafting the original statute in 2017. And so what we're bringing to you is a departmental bill are the changes that we feel are needed in the statute. And I won't go over all those details with you, but that's really what this is doing. And I think what it's really going to do is give educators that are working so hard in your schools the ability to really be given credit, if you will, for the hard work that they're doing. And so we're hoping to get the changes done this year so we can start next year as a baseline year for the implementation of our new system. The second thing is the academic excellence program. If you remember last year, it was written into statute that there will be an academic excellence program, but there was no money put to it. So we've been blessed right now with philanthropy over this past year to give us money to at least start a state-led teacher coaching system. And coaches are just that. Just like if you think about an athlete, I don't care how good your athlete is, whether it's LeBron James or whoever he is, he's got a coach. And the coach is there to make sure that he gets even better. And so what we want to do is to hire coaches, literacy coaches to start with. We've got some math coaches, and to make sure that they're put in classrooms to help teachers get better at their craft. That's what they do. They're there all day, every day. They don't do lunch duty. They don't do recess duty. They don't do bus duty. They're there strictly to coach teachers. And we will put those coaches in our schools that are our lowest performing based on our data across the state. Philanthropy has showed up first, which is great because we have about $5.8 million that we have been given to start a coaching pilot in Prince George's County. And that pilot is starting now with 7 coaches in 14 schools, and we plan to add 15 additional coaches by fall to Prince George's County. But we know that there is a real need across the state for these coaches. So Governor Moore put in his budget $10.8 million for the academic excellence program or teach state-led teacher coaches. And so we're hoping that that stays in the budget because that will give us the ability to hire 35 additional literacy coaches and place those in schools that need them the most. The third thing on our list is that I'm going to talk about, and we'll turn it over to you in a second, is the Leadership Academy. We've got a leadership shortage, just like we've got a teacher shortage. And so building on the blueprint and the blueprint's leadership training that we've been able to make very specific to the job. So whether it's a board member or a superintendent or a principal, but we don't have a way to build a bench. And this would give us the ability to build a bench of leaders across the state. And the funding for that, this bill is $1.5 million, and that is to pay stipends for absolutely outstanding mentor principals who would mentor every person that was or a person that was in the cohort. And they would mentor them during their time in the cohort, and they would mentor them for their first year serving as a principal. And we want to put these principals in our community schools and some of our lowest performing schools. So the whole idea here is to build a bench for them. And that's really, those are our 3 key departmental bills. And I'll stop there in case you've got any questions so far.
Okay, well, we can wait until the end of your presentation, or if this is the end of it, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can open it up now because what we really wanted to make sure that you were understanding as we've been meeting with folks is just what our departmental bills look like.
Okay, great. So first question is coming from Delegate Aaron's.
Thank you. Turn my audio off. Good having you here, and appreciate some of the things you said. I have a couple quick questions for you. Recently, ALEC, you know who ALEC is? They came out with an overall rating on schools across the country. Have you looked at that rating at all?
No, sir, I haven't.
It puts Maryland schools at an F. And I was wondering if there's reasons, if you had any information on that, how that happens. What you're saying is we're doing pretty good. We're doing this, we're doing that. And I appreciate that. But when I look at that report and I listen to what's happening in the counties as far as affordability of what Kerwin or what the blueprint's doing for us and not doing for us, these are issues that are coming out from my schools. They're coming out from parents and what have you. Do you have any comments on any of that?
I sure do. In 2013, Maryland was ranked number 2 in the nation for 4th grade reading by the National Assessment of Educational Progress. 2013. By 2022, Maryland had fallen to 40th in the nation. And in the 24 administration of NAEP, we rebounded to 20, but not where we need to be. In fact, the state board has set a goal for Maryland to be in the top 10 by 2027. So you can't, there is a concern. I need to be honest with you. Most of my career was spent in Maryland and as a principal and a district leader. And I can tell you that on any given point in time, we were butting heads with Massachusetts as to who was going to be number 1. And it surprised me, to be honest with you, when I returned back to Maryland after serving as the state chief in Mississippi for 9 years, of where we were actually. And so when I was hired, it was like, okay, we got to do something about this. And so that's one of the reasons you'll hear about the literacy policy that we have passed pre-K through grade 3. The adolescent literacy policy is now out for public comment. Strong math policy. In fact, our policies have actually been recognized nationally for their strength in trying to improve mathematics and in literacy. So we've got things in place. We have leaned in on professional learning. That was not happening in the state. In fact, teachers were having to pay to get professional learning, and that should never have happened. And so the department has been leaning in very heavily on how do we provide professional learning experiences across the state to our teachers. We have come up from 48% proficiency to almost 51%. We have improved a little bit in mathematics, but we've got a long way to go. We are going to be developing a brand new assessment system because there's a lot of complaints that I've heard about the assessment system. So part of that, the job of the task force that I talked about was to also look at the assessment system. Our vendors' contracts were expiring in December of 26, so we needed a new one anyway. So this was the perfect time for us to be developing that. So that BPW has just approved our contract, and we're going to be administering the first administration of that assessment in 26-27. So we are working very hard at correcting a lot of things that needed to be corrected. We have revised all of our standards. They're probably the most rigorous that they've ever been. And all of those standards then will be handed off to the vendor for the assessment so that our assessment will be aligned to what we're expecting teachers to be teaching in classrooms. So it is a concern, and we're aware of it. We're not backing away from it. In fact, we're tackling it head on. And I've got to say, you've got an amazing group of superintendents on the Eastern Shore. They are amazing. In fact, I am blessed to have 24 superintendents that do an outstanding job each and every day, and they're aware of it. So we're all rowing in the same direction and trying to do what's best for the children in Maryland. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up too, because I think I see some things that you're talking about. And a lot of this sounds like, oh, now we're doing some things that were not included in the original blueprint. And one of the biggest issues we have with the blueprint across the state, and I think every system's experiencing this, is the cost. And I was wondering, as you're relatively new, how do we put together such an elaborate system with really no vehicle other than saying the state will fund it? And we're finding that we saw a delay last year. We're seeing the governor's trying to put more money into it. I'm listening to people like one of my counties that just can't afford these costs. And I'm wondering, as you add these things, and we talk about now we're going to grow the bottom third, and you ask the question, how does that affect the upper 2/3? And my last one would be about, what do you feel about school choice? Being able to have school choice. That'll be, and I'm done after that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, no, no. I was going to back up to something that you just said. Shoot, right before you said school choice. So the thing about an accountability system is that it acknowledges the growth of all kids. I think when you've got as many children as we have that are not proficient, it's critical to look down at that, because I don't care how good your school is. You've got a bottom third. You've got a bottom third in every single school.
I agree.
Right. And so what we don't want to do, we want to raise the bar, but and close the gap. We do not want to keep those kids that are absolutely excelling and knocking it out of the park. They need to have the same kind of access and opportunities in order to continue to do that as our little ones who are struggling the most. And so an accountability system does both at the same time and recognizes both at the same time. So it's not like we're ignoring the top 2/3 at all. I'm glad you asked that question.
But if you look at it, I mean, you need to help the bottom third. There's no question about it. But you have to. You can't do both. It's very difficult to do both with the dollars, and we don't have the dollars. And I just don't know how we continually try to address this with hope. And hope's not really a plan.
Hope's not a plan. And I think that one of the things that we're looking at, in terms of going back to the accountability system for a second, is the idea of children having access to AP classes, advanced placement classes, IB programs, dual credit, dual enrollment. Those are all things that all kids should have access and opportunity for. And so I think that's part of what the blueprint has been able to do, is also fund some of that for all kids across the state. And so that to me makes perfect sense. We want all kids to have that access. And I think so you take those two things that Blueprint's already paying for, but you also build that into your accountability system. So schools are being recognized then for how many kids are taking advanced placement, how many kids are involved in dual enrollment, et cetera, et cetera. That's built into your accountability system so that schools are getting recognized for doing the kinds of things that they need to be doing.
I get that. You mentioned something that was very key to my last point. I apologize, Chairman. When you say all kids, we do not allow homeschooled children the benefit of going to a community college, where if you're registered in our school, we allow you to go to a community college. We subsidize that. But if you're a homeschooled child, they have to pay for that full thing on their own. And they're still paying the same amount of money I pay for my kid to go to a public school. So would you be agreeable to allowing these kids to take advantage of that education? Because we do want all kids to have that access.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the homeschooling law to respond to that, to be honest with you. So
if you could look into that, I'd appreciate your position on it, because it's important to a lot of people that have chosen to take their kids out of schools that may not be doing what they feel is good enough for their kids.
Sure,
Thank you very much for your time, and I'm sorry it took so much of
it. Not a problem.
Okay. So Superintendent, we're going to take down the screen share if that's right with you. Okay. Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Dr. Wright and team. First of all, I want to thank you for trying to sort out roles and responsibilities between the Maryland Department of Education and the Accountability Implementation Board. I heard a lot from my superintendents with your predecessor, where there did seem to be a lot of confusion and frustration at what to do at the local level, which directions are you following? So I know that you'll probably be coming into our committee to give us more detail on that. My question is a little bit to follow up with Delegate Ernst. With the recognition of our budget challenges in paying for the blueprint, and we spend time talking about implementation, and I believe not enough time talking about outcomes. And Delegate Ernst was kind of saying, how do we what can we do? And to me, I see this as an opportunity with our local jurisdictions and superintendents, knowing that you have limited dollars, to give the locals more flexibility on where they need to be focusing on blueprint implementation in the areas, that they need to focus on, as opposed to kind of the one size fits all. And so I guess my question is, can there be, more of an effort to give these superintendents and local jurisdictions some more flexibility, especially in light of, our budget crisis in Maryland?
So a couple of things, two things I'm thinking of. One thing, I totally agree with you about outcomes. So you just need to know I'm an outcome-based soul. And we revised the entire state strategic plan because I did not see outcomes in the strategic plan. And now if you take a look at our strategic plan that we've just published, it's on our website called Maryland Momentum. We literally took pillar by pillar and identified the outcomes under every single pillar that we need to be focusing on. And the superintendents all have that. So we all know that we're all looking at the same thing. But we're trying to move more to not just outcomes as in terms of numbers of kids in seats or something of that nature, but academic outcomes. And what are we doing around academic outcomes? So you will see under every pillar in the strategic plan, you will see a list of outcomes that the state is now working on. And the superintendents all have that. So we're all working on the same kinds of things at the same time, because I think that's what's important to parents. Parents want to know, how well is my child doing in all kinds of areas, whether it's in early childhood or whether it's in high school. And I think that's something that the superintendents are very aware of. They're very aware of their data. They're very focused on making sure that all kids are learning and growing. And I think that's why we're trying to just bring some consistency across the state as to what everybody is expecting in terms of outcomes. So I couldn't agree with you more about that. And in terms of
the flexibility at the local level.
well, I think, I think the superintendents who are coming on, they're going to tell you, I don't tell the superintendents what to do. I mean, that they run their own school systems. And I think everybody runs their school system in the context with which they have their school system. So it's very different for somebody, on the Eastern Shore than it is somebody in Western Maryland. And I honor all of their decision-making accordingly. And I think that I don't know when you say flexibility, I'm not quite sure what kind of flexibility that you're looking for, because I think they've got a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I think we've had these conversations and we can follow up offline, for instance, when we were talking about, the whole 60-40, 80-20, and I know that goes, back to, we were talking through the
Collaborative planning, the
Right.
collaborative planning.
I mean,
Yeah.
so, looking, and again, I'll be happy to follow up in my committee with you, but I did want to take the opportunity just, again, to anytime, especially with the budget challenges, and these cost shifts to the counties, just giving our local jurisdictions and the superintendents maximum flexibility.
Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Sample Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Secretary, and all those on here this morning. I wanted to just pivot just a little. Unfortunately, what is uniform across the state, and I believe is a growing concern, is school safety. I wanted to speak and just inquire about what is, how do you interface with the school safety efforts that are in place? And as some of our jurisdictions are really concerned about making sure they move to metal detectors, other safety security measures, including bulletproof windows. We're talking about those types of things, not only from the public side to try to figure out how to fund it, but the private side, I've seen philanthropists come in and say that they would like to support. So from your perspective and what you're hearing across the state, how do you help navigate that process to say, hey, we do need to do more with this? And how much involvement do you have with that subject matter?
Well, one of the things that we've started doing, particularly when the immigration issues started escalating around the nation, we have been also providing the superintendents. We're working with the Maryland Center for School Safety. We're partnering obviously with them, and also giving the superintendents, I have a weekly transmittal that goes to them. And part of that, in that weekly transmittal, as we get additional information or different protocols, different safety protocols that we have been obtaining, that gets put in that transmittal to all the local superintendents. And then each superintendent has to decide how they're going to implement that with the resources that they have and the staffing that they have. And so what we're trying to do is give them, here's some best practices to be thinking about, and then the superintendents and the principals in each of those districts then take that accordingly.
So in the department, in the meetings that you serve in or participate in, I understand about the local piece, but I guess we need at this juncture a little bit more of a whole statewide effort to put even more focus on those things. I mean, the teachers are concerned coming to school, being in the environment, but certainly our kids are as well. And I don't know if I'm just hearing enough effort from a uniform effort around the state of, hey, we've got to push this. We got to make sure the Maryland School for Center Safety for School Safety is getting its due diligence and funding that it needs. And I know we have our part as legislators to do and send the same message, but I'm just really going more and more concerned about the subject.
Well, it's top of mind, I can tell you, for the center, because that's something that, that we work with them directly on and actually serve on the center's board. So you can be assured that it is top of mind for us. It is top of mind for the superintendents. And in fact, we arranged to have a meeting with the Baltimore ICE director and all of the superintendents about a week to 10 days ago to ask the kinds of questions that were on the minds of superintendents, and concerns in their public safety people were right alongside them. So I think that we've been trying to open up those avenues to make sure that we're getting the most current information that we have, and making sure that our superintendents have the same information, right in front of them as well. So we are very aware. We're monitoring that. We know there are children that are hesitant to come to school because they're fearful. We know families that are hesitant to let their kids go to school because they're fearful. So what we're trying to do is to figure out a way to all hands on deck, making sure that our guidance counselors are a lot more sensitive to a lot of the anxiety that's going on in schools right now. So we're hitting it from a number of angles. And anytime that superintendents, anybody says, hey, what about this? It's something that we look into and then make sure that we can pass that information back on to the superintendents.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Thank you. I just want to be clear right before I leave, is that it's not just solely about immigration. It is from neighborhood fights that lead right into the school system. So it's a plethora, unfortunately, of things. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you're welcome. I think Senator Mounts was hand up, hand down, hand up, hand down. Superintendent, I do have one follow-up to Delegate Sample Hughes's point. There's a new secretary, I think her name's Tolentino, and Department of Juvenile Services. She actually presented to the Eastern Shore Association of Municipalities before we came into session. Shree was with me when we listened to sort of an introductory comment coming from that department. And let me just reinforce the importance that I'm hearing from DGS, which is that there needs to be partnership and increased partnership between their department and the school systems, because these are the tools that the school systems use to help make these classrooms safe, using information that's current and relevant. Because at the end of the day, a classroom is only going to be as good as the comfort and safety of the students and the teachers that are in that classroom. I'm making a statement I'm sure you agree with, but what I'm trying to connect is that DGS has new leadership, which we on the Eastern Shore deem as being essential because of some of the past issues that are present. But we're hoping that change leads to further improvements that we see as legislators hearing from our constituents. And the other question I have, which I'd be curious to your comment on, is that the IAC, at least from the counties I represent, have presented some difficulties as it relates to forward funding of construction projects. So you've got Montgomery County. I'm sure Montgomery County can build all kinds of schools. They've got the budget to pay for the schools, and they get reimbursed later. And I might be driving this point not directly, but on the Eastern Shore, our budgets are different. I mean, we don't have the same level of county funding just to build schools at, frankly, the rate that we probably need to with advancement of universal pre-K and different programs like Kennedy Krieger, for example, that might come up, Shepherd Pratt might come up. These are things that on the Eastern Shore are so very important to us. And I worry with our budget in its place where it is now in the next couple, 3 years, which seems to be more difficult, not less, that we don't match the funding to the facility needs. And I would be curious to your comment on that point.
Well, the IAC, and I can certainly relay your concerns, because, you know, I sit on the IAC actually, around how those monies are distributed. I don't have that answer to be honest with you, right off the top of my head. But I do know that we have worked with the IAC. You mentioned pre-K. One of the things that the superintendents have said is like, we'd love to open more pre-K. We just don't have the facilities for it. So we've been passing that information along to IAC so that whether it's all ed specs, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, you could put a pre-K anywhere, that you build in the room as you're going into it, rather than trying to retrofit something afterwards to anticipate the growth of pre-K. So any kind of recommendations like that, we have been working with the IAC to see if there's a way that they can start including some more of that in what they're planning.
Right. I mean, so the counties resist unfunded mandates. And I know that the IAC and how we're funding schools is not exactly a unfunded mandate, but from the lens of county budgets and increasing difficulties that do come from the state that passes down in an unfunded way, the school construction is a part of that conversation. I'm not a county leader, I'm a state delegate, but the point is I hear this concern, and thank you for receiving that message, because I believe it's important at the end of the day that we deliver the facilities that match the state's requirements and always do that.
Absolutely. In fact, I think the requests that came in were more than twice the rate of the money that we have. So we know the needs out there. There's just a need for more money to be put into IEC.
Specifically for the Eastern Shore. Secretary, thank you very much for your time, or Superintendent, I'm sorry.
I get called both, so it doesn't matter. I answered everything. So
well, you get a closing message if you like, and then we'll move right along.
No, just thanks for, oh, you got another hand up.
Senator Mouch, you're on. Go ahead, sir.
I'll be very quick. I apologize. Madam Secretary, great to see you. Thank you. With regards to the security, the safety issues that you were discussing with Delegate Sample Hughes, you know, as you look at these and make decisions and implement programs, could you send us just an update of what those are so we're aware of what's happening as far as, you know, new security measures and safety measures that are being implemented statewide, that sort of thing? Would that be is that something you could do for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We can pass that information along, but I want to be very clear. The superintendent, I pass the information on to the superintendents, but they've got to be the one on the implementing end of it. And so if it's budgetarily impactful, then that's got to be a decision, obviously, that they make along with the people, you know, within their district, because I can't very well say, to your point earlier, like, okay, all schools will have metal detectors. That's like a huge thing for me to say. I could say, if you're doing something, you're building a new school, or you're concerned about that, this might be something you want to consider. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But I think understanding the baseline as the representatives, when you're picking up information, hearing things, and then we have got great superintendents. We have wonderful superintendents that interact with us, and they're open to us. And but still, it would help us before we go to them to know exactly what the playing field actually looks like. And then we are very much attuned to their financial constraints and demands and the things that are going on from that aspect. But I think it would be helpful, at least if we had that information as it's being implemented statewide, so we understand.
Happy to share that with you. Not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sorry for the late question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Not at all, Senator.
Yes.
So Superintendent, closing comments?
Yeah, just say thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the invitation. And anytime, you know, you want me to come on, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, members, we're going to move along to the Eastern Shore Maryland Educational Consortium, ESMEC. Good morning. I hope you understood we went a little bit long there, but that was a very important presentation, and we were happy to give the superintendent the time. So good morning and welcome.
Absolutely. Good morning, Chairman Adams and the members of the delegation. We thank you for this opportunity to share our 2026 legislative initiatives and have a conversation about public education on the shore. I am Dr. Sharon Pepakai, Superintendent of Talbot County Public Schools and President of ESMEC this year. Public school systems continue to face some significant challenges with the organizational restructuring required by the blueprint legislation. They've also been creative in addressing the staffing shortages and budget challenges at all levels. On the shore, we are so fortunate to have a group of school system leaders who effectively lead our school systems through these times. And at this time, I invite my fellow superintendent of schools on the shore to introduce themselves by alphabetical order by school system, and I will call out each district, starting with Caroline.
Good morning. Thank you for the time. Derek Simmons, Superintendent, Caroline County Public Schools.
Next, Cecil.
Good morning, everybody. Jeff Lawson, Cecil County Public Schools.
Dorchester.
Good morning, everyone. Jamel Thompson, Dorchester County Public Schools.
Kent.
Good morning. I'm Mary McComas, Superintendent, Kent County.
Queen Anne's.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. Matt Kibler, Interim Superintendent, Queen Anne's County.
Somerset.
Dave Bromwell, Superintendent, Somerset County Public Schools. Good morning.
Wycomico.
Hello, good to see everyone. Micah Stauffer, Wycomico County Public Schools.
And Worcester.
Good morning, everyone. Annette Wallace, Superintendent of Worcester County Public Schools.
Thank you. Members of the delegation, you previously received several documents from our ESMIC Executive Director, Dr. Kelly Griffith, who really does a lot of work for us and puts all of this together, gets all of our documents, and really helps us instrumentally. We would like to review with you at this time some of these documents. The first exhibit that you see here is a fact sheet of the Eastern Shore with all of our data from the 24-25 school year. We served over 64,000 students with the support of 13,000 staff members. Overall, our student enrollment has slightly increased across the shore from last year, and our demographics continue to shift since 2020. Our farms percentages went up from 45% to 58%. Our ML students 5% to 8%, and special education 11% to 12%. We have also increased services to pre-kindergarten students across the shore, currently serving 3,761, and several half-day pre-K schedules have become full-day pre-K schedules. Our next exhibit will be our legislative priorities and recommendations, and I will call on several of my colleagues to discuss those, starting off with our first one, support for district budget stabilization and practical relief, and Dr. Simmons will speak to this.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to use my time to speak about our free and reduced meals students, our compensatory education funded students. While we appreciate Governor Moore's proposal to continue a provision in schools and districts participating in the Community Eligibility Program, which is the Universal Free Meals Program, we would respectfully request protection for funding stability for high-need students by ensuring no school system loses overall funding for students in poverty. As you can see, the number of students in poverty on the Eastern Shore has increased by over 10%. The governor's proposal in his budget maintains stability until the required analysis is completed to establish a new poverty measure. However, it does neglect to fully address the impact for students in poverty in those districts that are not fully community eligibility provision districts. We support maintaining the previous approach to counting students eligible for free and reduced meals until the required analysis and accompanying measure is completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simmons. Next, Dr. Lawson will talk about supporting the CIP request and the recommendations of the IAC work, which we just heard a little bit of the discussion earlier.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. I'll try to do this in 60 seconds. Just a couple big, broad things. The Shore has nearly $750 million worth of projects and new construction on the docket for completion. We know that's a heavy lift, but we feel like we're responsible to let the public know exactly what the conditions of our buildings are. Each school typically has what's expected to be a 50-year life of the shell, quote unquote, with the roof, the HVAC systems, to a lesser amount of time. In the last 20 years, the cost of construction per square foot has nearly quadrupled. And again, that puts more pressure on the governing bodies, in this case, our delegates and our senators. Delegate Adams, I'd like to just thank you for bringing up this issue of front funding. Front funding is just a really, really important issue. We are in the process of building a $185 million 6 through 12 school that's about 2/3 of the way through completion. And our county, quote unquote, loaned the state upwards of $40 million for about 6-year term, interest-free. And really, at the time it happened, we felt like that was a great thing because we were going to get our school on schedule. What that's done is that has pushed our out-year CIP projects back up to 3 to 5 years. And it is just and I know I want to say off the top of my head, there's probably 5 counties that I'm aware of that are in this situation. So your attention to this matter is very much appreciated. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson. Next, Dr. Thompson will talk about the support of the DJS Commission recommendations for a strong school safety framework for students and staff. Again, a topic that you just heard previously from Delegate Sample Hughes. I don't know, Dr. Thompson, if you're talking or muted. If not, I could jump in with that. So ESMEC affirms that safe schools are essential for ensuring effective learning conditions and require robust interagency collaboration.
Sorry.
You're here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah.
I didn't push the mute. Excuse me, everybody. Sorry about that.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Dr. P.
Yep.
ESMEC affirms that safe schools are essential in ensuring effective learning conditions and require robust interagency collaboration amongst education, human services, and law enforcement. A strong framework depends on a sensible, reportable, offensive structure, including a school system, receipt of timely, actionable information when students are charged with serious crimes. So schools can plan, supports, and maintain school safety while upholding student rights. ESMEC supports the policy recommendations from the Stakeholder Legislative Mandated Commission to improve system-wide processes and communications. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Dr. Stauffer will next talk about advocacy and funding for additional special education resources on the Eastern Shore.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks again for this opportunity. So the Eastern Shore has only one non-public special education facility, the Benedictine School, which serves a very small and select population. So there are no regional placements for students with emotional disabilities, autism, or those that have significant other disabilities. 5 districts, Caroline, Kent, Queen Anne's, Talbot, and Dorchester, are currently sending 32 students across the Bay Bridge for services this year. And these students are sent that far because, again, no appropriate programs, they just don't exist down here on the shore. This cost is totaling $4.4 million this year for tuition and transportation, $1 million of which is just for the transportation. Families have to endure long days for their students. It affects attendance. It affects the routines of families and ultimately the student well-being. I know in Wicomico we have those same needs, but the distance is just too far to even try. So we have to do our best to recreate these environments within the public school system to address the needs that we're seeing in our students when they really should be in a more therapeutic type facility. Southern Maryland also faced the same issue several years ago. They worked alongside with Senator Jack Bailey to begin discussions with Kennedy Krieger Institute about establishing a non-public special education school in the region. The state provided funding secured through Senators Bailey and Zucker. Congressman Hoyer secured an additional $2 million in federal funds for startup costs and operating costs. So, we can save local districts significant annual transportation and, in our case, operation costs, and keep these state dollars down here on the shore. All we're asking for is the same services that every other child in the state of Maryland has access to, except for those on the Eastern Shore. So our ask is to support state funding for capital and startup costs, along with support behind any available federal funding to attract a non-public special education facility like a Kennedy Krieger or another vetted organization, so that we can just have the same thing down here on the shore that every other region in the state has for our students with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stauffer. Dr. Kibler will then talk about early childhood area.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we wanted to share some successes and other recommendations. Currently, the Eastern Shore serves approximately 3,764-year-olds which is an increase of 645 students since 2020. Many of our districts have moved from half-day programs to full-day programs. I know in Queen Anne's in 3 years, we went from all half-day programs to all full-day programs and tripled the number of full-day spots we had. Our recommendation is to maintain the Blueprint's vision of a mixed delivery pre-K system by creating clear distinctions and expectations between the public and private providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Wallace, she will talk about highly qualified, diverse teachers and leaders.
Yes, good morning. As in the past, I think we've talked about national board certified teachers. I know I had a conversation with our delegate Hartman earlier this week about some priorities around this and the financial challenges of it, specifically meeting those mandates of the blueprint. So just to give you a little bit of background, in 2020, the Eastern Shore had 103 national board certified teachers. In 24-25, we have 554 teachers who have applied for NBC, which is an increase of over 81%. And remember, there's significant funding through the blueprint tied to each of those teachers who earn it. And many districts only get a very small portion of that funding. The specific thing that we're focusing on this year, though, is our recommendation would be to amend the statute to remove administrators on the career ladder, remove assistant principals and principals from the career ladder provisions.
Thank you. I see a hand up, but I'm not sure. Chairman Adams, do you want to wait till the end?
I can wait until you're finished
Okay.
presenting, and then we'll
Okay.
open questions up.
Okay, we'll keep going. Dr. McComas is going to talk about college and career preparation.
Yes, thank you. We too are very outcomes focused as a group of leaders. So I want to share with you the progress we've made around college and career prep. Specifically on the Eastern Shore, we've increased dual enrollment by 29%. So we began with approximately 1,300 students, and today we're up around 1,922. So just shy of 2,000 as a difference. And in 2020, I can't get my words right today. In 2020, on the Eastern Shore, we only had 7 apprenticeships, and we're proud to say at the end of last school year, we were up to 147 student apprenticeships opportunities. So we want to encourage you to continue to put emphasis on students pursuing CTE as a choice of study and the resources to support that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Ensuring resources for staff will be discussed by Mr. Bromwell.
Good morning, everyone. Again, we're looking for increased access to behavioral health through the consortium and coordinated community supports for our students across all 9 school systems. 27 service providers have been able to increase services for students and families, and 2 coordinating hubs covering 7 counties have been able to begin to work to streamline access to these services in the communities. This builds the individual work that all 9 school systems have done to meet the rising needs of our students. We recommend to everyone here more study of differentiated levels of special education funding. Hope you understand that, a model implemented in the majority of the states surrounding us. Thank you.
Thank you. So in conclusion, over the years, we've been supported by our local legislators and county boards of education. Our county commissioners and council staff have been working through the various funding formula changes from the state. A major success is our transparency of accountability at all levels. We are also making progress with more consistency between expectations of MSD, E, and the AIB. And so you heard earlier from Dr. Wright, there is transparency, there's alignment and coherence that we're striving for. We work every month as an ESMEC group and talk about best practices that are being shared among us. Some of the topics we've heard, safety, for example, here at Talbot, we've added another layer of safety lanyards that every staff member wears. It's just like their badge. They press a button right on their badge a few times, and it's connected to law enforcement. So some of the things that we're hearing and we're talking about with each other about what's working in other districts. We're continuing to work with AIB so that we can continue to communicate the successes and challenges of the blueprint and getting that message out amongst our community and our stakeholders. So that concludes our presentation on our legislative priorities and recommendations. And again, just want to reiterate your support I know just Senator Mouts here in our area has been very supportive of us. I have him on speed dial, but just being able to find out the facts and anything that we could do to continue to share information about what we're doing so that you can continue to send the message is appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Senator Carozza.
Mr. Chair, first of all, thank you for having our school superintendents in so early in the session. This is extremely helpful, and I thank all the superintendents, especially the way they're organized in the Eastern Shore of Maryland ESMEC Consortium. I wanted to follow up specifically with Dr. Stouffer's presentation. Thanks to Dr. Stouffer's leadership in bringing this to the attention of our delegation, when you do see that map and you see that, we have only one facility on the Eastern Shore of Maryland when it comes to a special education facility, we know that needs to be top priority. And to update the rest of the delegation, the Healthy Minds for Sure, which is a strong collaboration between all the healthcare providers, Greater Salisbury Committee, working together for over 3 years and highlighting our behavioral health needs as a priority. That work has moved forward, and I believe we are in a position to make that request for a special education facility for the Eastern Shore. Chair Zucker has been kind enough to meet with Healthy Minds for Sure, and basically following the model they did use in St. Mary's County. So, Dr. Stouffer, had you not, I think really kind of pressed the case and let us know what's happening. And I think, when we talk about it, we talk about those students with special needs. But I think it's helpful if we could also talk about that when you have a facility for those students, that it benefits the rest of the students and the school personnel. And I think we need to hear more from the superintendents about not only meeting the needs of those special education students that we can't serve in the public school system, but also, the fact that it will have such a positive benefit on the rest of the students and the school personnel. And it also comes back to a school safety issue as well. So I was going to just ask, for continued follow-up from ESMEC to help us make that case on the requests that we're making. And again, just kind of holding up the map, this is the map that we've been showing our leadership in the Senate and the House of Delegates and leadership overall and the governor's office on the need for a special education facility for the Eastern Shore. So that would be my, I guess my request from ESMEC to kind of help us keep making that case.
Thank you. We have had extensive conversations with Micah and plans, and I know Dr. Griffith has had conversations with Kennedy Krieger. So we definitely are continuing to push that so that we can have a facility here on the shore.
And I would like to just say, and I know those that I've spoke with on this from the delegation have been so supportive. It makes a big difference. Appreciate the support from our community and also ESMEC, as we see this as a real need on the Eastern Shore for not just one facility, but really multiple facilities to serve our entire region. It definitely makes a big difference, especially obviously for the students that need those types of programs, but also, as you said, the resources that go behind what it takes to be able to meet the needs of those students within our school buildings each and every day. So thanks again for your support, all of you. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, Delegate Hartman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank everyone for being with us this morning. I echo what Senator Carozza said. I'm really glad to hear the conversation across the Eastern Shore as far as expanding the need of the special education facilities. It's not fair to the families, and I do have to agree, it strains the resources in our other schools as well. The question, one of the things that really was surprising to me was the increase in enrollment in I think it was the 4-year-olds, but also with the 3-year-old program. Just curious as to what counties are doing for these little guys and girls when they're getting on the bus. They're I doubt if their feet go over the seat. So how are we securing them in? What additional resources are counties having to help aid those kids in transportation?
I know here at Talbot, we've had conversations about that because I know that there have been talks of seatbelts, but you're right. We're still trying to brainstorm what we can do for that for our students in transporting them to school. But I'm going to see if any of my colleagues have any other firsthand experience. I see Mary, your hand up.
Yes, thank you. We just opened a 3-year-old program this year, and we only have 20 slots. And the truth is, a lot of our 3-year-olds are brought to school each day by their parents. We do have some that are transported on our buses. Those who have special education, and it's designated in their IEP that they have a harness system in place as part of their IEP. That's in place for those who do not have an IEP, and there's no specified requirement for anything like that. They just ride the bus just like any other student does in terms of being unsecured. You're right, they are very tiny. I was there our opening day, and one little girl, she was so sweet, she popped her head around the corner and needed assistance getting down the steps. And so that's where we are in Kent County. We are pursuing the opportunity to expand our 3-year-old programs to our other elementary schools next year. So I look forward to continuing to figure out what we need to do to expand that. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
But there are no specified requirements at the state level for how these students are transported?
No.
Okay, that might be a good way to approach it then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Delegate Sample Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, superintendents, for all the work that you do. And I know we ask a lot of questions, and they're poignant to specifically the committees that we serve on, and we're like in the thrust of things. So this is kind of where this question is coming from, but also the work that I did in the interim. So my question is around school-age youth that are incarcerated in the adult system. So our local detention centers will come before me and this new committee that I'm now serving on, government, labor, and elections, which covers corrections and a plethora of other things. The question is, and one of our wardens wanted to know, and I wanted to know, is how and are you, as a school system, required to still provide education while the student is incarcerated in an adult facility? It seems like it's not consistent across the state. And I was just curious, is it based on relationships or is it based on the state requirement somewhere that I haven't found yet? And I'm just trying to get some ideas. And if you don't have all the answers today, feel free, please, to just send me an email because I just want to make sure I'm speaking intelligently when I'm meeting with the local correctional facilities and pushing this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Simmons, I see your hand up if you know any information.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Hughes, for raising this. I will follow up with an email afterwards. There is sort of a gray area when it comes to students who are in an adult population jail in terms of educational services and being able to provide those services. This is an opportunity probably to dig in a little bit more. So I'm glad to hear that we are seeing that, because there is a lack of specificity between what's required in the student records manual and the work obviously with JSEP. However, once we get to students who are in an adult jail, and I understand there are definitely more things to be concerned about for wardens in an adult jail, but it does create some interesting challenges of us being able to provide teachers or access to work. It's not the same as you're not going to be able to provide a laptop with Wi-Fi for a student who's in an adult jail to be able to provide access to services. So happy to send you some things that we've had to work through, but it is not real clear for how we support those students that sometimes return to us. And of course, we want them to get a diploma, and hopefully get on a better path for their future when things get better. And there is definitely a gap there. So thank you for raising that.
Okay, thank you so much. I didn't know if I was just missing it. But I really appreciate that you've identified there is a gap and there is a lot of gray area of how to and make sure these things happen. Because, you know, and while they're in an adult facility, they are isolated to the fullest, obviously, based on age. And so I'm just curious, how does our education play into that and if there was some consistency? So thank you. I look forward to your email. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions. I would like to take Senator Mounts comes in. There you
I
go.
always jump in the very end. I just have to say, thank you to Dr. Pepe for saying hello. For everybody on the call, she and I attended school together in St. Michael's, and she had to endure me as probably one of the worst students in the history of Talbot County Public Schools. And now as superintendent, she's helping me along and working with me. But for all of our superintendents, I just wanted to say thank you, but also say a special thank you to Dr. P and seeing you in this position. So that's all, just short. And so, and you know the rest of the story. Thank you. Isn't that so?
Senator, everybody's going to want to be on your speed dial now that you know she's on your speed dial, or vice versa. I do want to just reinforce and emphasize the importance of the conversation Senator Carozza and Delegate Hartman were having about healthy minds for the shore, because we've heard a lot about this, and the media does follow and makes public things that happen during these delegation meetings. But it is so important to talk about mental and behavioral health through the lens of public education. And the Greater Salisbury Committee wrote a letter to the delegation on January 8th and asked for our advocacy for capital funding and just general awareness over the subject. They do reference Senator Carozza and Delegate Sampley Hughes participated in some of these local meetings late last year. But I would just say to you, if we were to line up where are the priorities globally for the Eastern Shore and for the good of the order of public education, of course, funding tops it all because you can't do it without money. But aligning resources to this particular issue remains so important and needed. The public and the media should know that this is a difficult subject at best that requires action. The fact that we have this disparity on the Eastern Shore speaks to an issue that needs to be solved. When the Greater Salisbury Committee, it's a group of like-minded community leaders, has been championing this for 3 years, writes letters to the delegation. That should be enough to add additional pressure to help get what it is we need on the Eastern Shore when it comes to supports for our children as we're trying to educate and lead them into the future. Without this sort of programming and support, how can we actually help these kids get through to adulthood the way that we can best serve them? So I say that by way of comment, but I will, since there are no further questions, leave your group with the final chance to say a word, and we'll move along to the next presentation.
Just want to thank you again for the time and not waiting, just to a forum like this, but any time to call for any answers that you may need for any committees that you serve on. Please feel free to reach out. We would like to make sure that you do have all the information that you need to continue to advocate for our needs here on the shore. So thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Okay, members, next up, and right on time, and thank you for the superintendents. We covered that quickly, but concisely. We have our university and college presidents online, and the floor is yours.
Should we go in alphabetical order or the order you have us listed?
Dr. Anderson, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
So as a rule of thumb, we'll leave it up to the group at large to make the presentation. It looks like we have about 30 minutes, and you can choose to use it how you wish. And thank you for being with us today.
Presidents, why don't we go in the order that's listed? Everybody has the agenda.
Shall I go ahead and call
yes,
Dr. Mary Bolt, president of Cecil College?
That would be great.
Okay.
Certainly, thank you. Well, good morning and thank you for your continued support of Maryland Community Colleges. We feel that we're the economic and workforce development solution for Maryland. Just want to provide an update on some of our programming. In addition to our traditional associate degree nursing program, we also developed with an assistant of the Nurse Support 2 grant, an accelerated associate degree nursing program. And this Accelerate track was designed as an innovative response to Maryland's nursing workforce shortage. Many of these students are seeking second and third degrees coming back to our community college. Now it's third year, we have 100% licensure, RN licensure pass rate with about a 75% completion of an associate degree in nursing in 13 months. We continue to maintain our other associate degree nursing programs with outstanding passage rates. We also have health programs that you're probably most familiar with: LPN, CNA, GNA, EMT, physical therapist assistant, paramedic, and others. Also, our bioproduction program and cybersecurity programs continue to attract students and align with the governor's workforce initiatives. Most recently, we added a program in artificial intelligence. I'm an educator, so I can speak quickly as well. We have HVAC and electrical apprenticeships that continue to fill. As always, truck driving is a big program for us. Diesel and automotive mechanics, welding, pest management, and marine technician continue with steady enrollment, and they meet our regional workforce needs. This spring, we're launching a certified manufacturing associate degree program, along with an OUPV captain's license prep course. And really excited, we're hosting our third cohort for utility training in partnership with Delmarva Power. Delmarva Power sponsors the students' tuition and provides a stipend for the students who exit the program with several certifications that place them on a path to become a utility line worker. We are very excited to be watching the new Workforce Pell launch and how that will impact many of our workforce programs and assist students in great need. And most recent, you might have been aware through Maryland Higher Education Commission and others that we participate along with the other leaders from higher ed on the phone with the Aspen Transfer Initiative. Thank you for your support. Be happy to answer any questions. And I must say the Eastern Shore presidents are outstanding.
Wonderful. And we'll go ahead and go through the entire list and then open the floor for questions if there are any. Next up, Dr. Cliff Cloppersmith, Chesapeake College.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Eastern Shore delegates, senators, staff, and colleagues. It's my pleasure this morning to provide a brief update on our status at Chesapeake College. I'm pleased to report that our enrollment continues to grow as we serve adults of all ages in transfer and workforce development and education on the Midshore. I thank you all for your support of the college, and we're grateful for the budget support we have been given in the governor's recently announced budget for fiscal year 2027. This spring, we have the largest enrollment for a spring semester since 2016, which represents a significant improvement for us, especially since the end of the pandemic, with over 2,020 students enrolled this spring. At present, 38% of our spring enrollment are dual enrolled high school students. As you know, we've made major progress in our skilled trades programs, the improvements of labs and equipment, and full-time faculty. Much of the resources that we've acquired have come from both federal and state grants and through the generosity of private and corporate donors. This has included a mobile welding lab acquired through a $1.5 million congressionally directed earmark, which has allowed us to take these opportunities out to our communities with recent deployments to Chestertown. It's now in Easton, and in the near future to our campus center in Cambridge. The development we are most excited about is the final approval of a $48 million purpose-built skilled trades and workforce technical facility that will replace the last building on our campus that has not been renovated, the Queen Anne's Technology Building. Costs of the construction are covered by 75% by the state and 25% of our support counties. We're on the capital projects list and awaiting the final letter from the Department of Budget Management that will give us the approval to award both the design and construction management contracts to build the facility. It will occupy existing space at the end of our quad, adjacent to the current higher ed center on the eastern side of campus. It will be a game changer for Chesapeake and will bring a generational investment to the Midshore for workforce development. We are working very closely with our K through 12 partners to enhance and complement what they're doing in these program areas, including welding and metal fabrication, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, and the construction trades. The facility will also feature a center for innovation and entrepreneurship, supporting the interests of our students, alumni, and community members in skilled trades related and other small business. We hope to begin design in the spring with completion of the project as early as late 2028 or early 2029. That's what I have for you today. We appreciate your past and ongoing support for Chesapeake College and for our students. I also thank you for your leadership and service representing the interests of the Eastern Shore and Annapolis this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Next up, my alma mater, Salisbury University. I believe we have Dr. Jessica Clark with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. My name is Jessica Clark, and I have the privilege of representing Salisbury University today in my capacity as interim provost. Excuse me, President LaPree sends her regrets. I want to begin by thanking the Eastern Shore delegation for your continued support of Salisbury University and for your advocacy on behalf of higher education and workforce development on the Eastern Shore. I'd like to start with enrollment because it tells an important story about momentum and demand. This year, Salisbury University enrolled 7,243 students, continuing a positive upward trend from 7,025 students just the year before. Even more encouraging, our first-year applications are up 20%, representing the largest applicant pool in the university's history. This growth reflects not only strong academic programs, but the expanding reach and reputation of Salisbury University across Maryland and beyond. Importantly for this delegation, 84% of our students come from Maryland, and of those Maryland students, nearly 1/3 are from the Eastern Shore. Another 51% come from across the bridge, bringing talent, tuition dollars, and long-term economic impact back to this region. Healthcare workforce development remains one of our strongest contributions to this region. Since its establishment in 2018, our College of Health and Human Services has consistently been a campus leader in enrollment, credentialing exam pass rates, employment, and graduate education. One point of pride is nursing. Salisbury University consistently ranks among the top credentialing institutions in the University System of Maryland, with a 94% first-time pass rate on the NCLEX. Our online and graduate nursing programs are also nationally recognized by U.S. News and World Report. These graduates are staying in the region and serving the communities that need them most. Our strengthened partnership with healthcare and community organizations, particularly Tidal Health, position SU on the Lower Shore as a primary driver for rural health innovation, workforce development, and community impact. Our programs are training the next generation of health and human service leaders, educators, and practitioners who are already making an impact on the rural communities that they serve. This is especially important in underserved areas like the Eastern Shore, where we see an aging population and growing healthcare demands. I want to briefly highlight the broader impact and national recognition of SU. We are consistently named among the top producers of Fulbright students, ranked for more than 25 years by leading publications for academic quality, value, and return on investment, and we're recognized as one of the most veteran-friendly institutions in the country. The Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching recently included SU in Research College and University classifications, and hot off the press, renewed the University Community Engagement classification until 2032, which we're very excited about. We continue to work closely with regional business leaders to identify industry needs and create high-impact programs, including our recently launched majors in coastal engineering and music therapy. The latter is the first of its kind in the USM. Before I close, I'm excited to share an update on a project that represents both cultural investment and downtown revitalization, the Performing Arts Center. We continue to make progress towards the development of a 70,000 square foot performing arts center in downtown Salisbury, which will include an approximately 800-seat concert hall, along with instructional and classroom spaces. We are grateful to have received $2 million from the Department of Housing and Community Development through the SEED Community Development Anchor Institution Fund for planning and pre-construction. Projects moving through the capital improvement program process, and when realized, will serve as a major cultural anchor. Simply put, Salisbury is growing, serving, and leading, and we want to thank you for your partnership and your continued support. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Next up, University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, Dr. Fernando Morales Wilhelm.
Chair Adams and delegation members, thank you for your time today. It's good to see everyone. My name is Fernando Morales Wilhelm, and I'm serving as president of UMSES and also vice chancellor for sustainability of the University System of Maryland. Maryland is quite unique to have the only public university in the nation that is devoted exclusively to matters of the environment at the graduate education and research level. I was very pleased to see many of you at the events that we conducted in 2025 as part of our celebration of our 100th anniversary in innovation and discovery that has supported the citizens and agencies of the state of Maryland. As I am sure you're aware, UMSES has been one of the critical suppliers of oyster larvae and spat for public fishing bars, aquaculture, and restoration efforts. If there's one thing that we can all agree on matters related to oysters is that the Chesapeake Bay needs more of them. UMSES has been very proud to be a key partner in the state's planned efforts to restore oysters in over 1,000 acres within Maryland's portion of the bay. However, much more work is planned. UMSES recently completed a Maryland legislative research initiative in a bill, SB 830, if I'm correct, on oyster substrate, shell, and spat. The major findings of this work are the fresh oyster shells are in short supply. Alternatives such as limestone rocks and clams are needed and work in the bay and is common practice nationally and internationally. And growing spat for 5 days in tanks are optimal to maximize productivity when working at full capacity. Also, as many of you may be aware, funding for our Horn Point Oyster Hatchery has been in the news lately. First off, I want to thank very much so many of our partners, elected officials, NGOs, friends, and frankly, the entire community that has rallied in support of our work. In the fall, we received the news from NOAA, a key funding partner, that we were likely to receive a 50% grant cut this year with the possibility of zero funding in out years to support our activities at the Horn Point Oyster Hatchery. Now that the federal budget for bay restoration has recently been set to previous levels, we are hopeful that our funds will be restored as well. If not, we're working on multiple other sources of funding, but only time will tell. I want to thank you again for your time and continued support, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Next up, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Dr. Heidi Anderson. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Adams. And I want to say thank you to you and to all of the delegation, both our state and federal delegates who are on the call today. We want to thank you from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore for your continued support of all of our higher education institutions, but especially UMES. Also, thank you for your service and your advocacy. And for those of you who attended our legislative breakfast earlier this month, I won't go into a lot of detail, but I'll just highlight a couple points. First of all, last year's appropriation through the HBCU settlement funding and our one-on-one match was extremely great. We are extremely grateful for that. We were able to use these funds to make a difference in the lives of our students as they graduate and help them transform communities through our extension services and through the work that we do helping to solve the problems in the state of Maryland, but especially here on the Eastern Shore. We are so grateful for the funding that the governor has included for our new veterinary medicine school here in the capital budget, and I will highlight that just momentarily. But for those new to the call or new to UMES, who is UMES? Who is our impact? How do we impact the state? Well, just a reminder, 60% of our students come to us to major in what I call STEM, science, technology, engineering, agriculture, and math. And we were grateful to and really pleased to have our 5th consecutive enrolled class last fall, 2025, 5 consecutive years of increased enrollment. When you think about UMES, you also come to mind, we have 8 health profession programs in addition to all of our agricultural programs. Our undergraduate programs that are highlighted are criminal justice, also aviation sciences. And those students who are in the health programs, they graduate passing national boards at 96 to 100%. Our students help our faculty work on food insecurity, healthcare disparities, environmental sustainability efforts. What I want to really say and leave home with you is that the impact, the investments that you make and that you give to us from the state and federal level make a great difference in benefiting Maryland, either agriculture, natural sciences, or the health of our communities. And finally, as you know, this year, our only legislative priority is focusing on the capital investment for the School of Veterinary Medicine. Let me leave you with this short story. Donovan Grady. Donovan is a student. Actually, he's a student who just graduated December of 2025. Donovan lived in Wacomico County, Mardella Springs. He went to UMES for the last 4 years, a 4.0 student. And in the last 4 years, with his working with our faculty in pre-vet, he said, quote, "This unique experience at UMES helped cultivate his passion for veterinary sciences." In addition, Donovan, during his time here, went to UC Davis because we have a partnership with UC Davis in California where our students, especially those who are higher achievers, can go out for a few weeks and partner with them. Donovan did that, is extremely interested in veterinary medicine. But graduating in December, he's now working in Salisbury at Healing Hands Animal Hospital while he's waiting to get acceptance to veterinary medical school. Unfortunately for Donovan, right now, there's no veterinary school in the state of Maryland, and that's where we come in to solve that problem for the state. As you know, we are just months away from having the accrediting team come to us. June of this year, they will be visiting us for hopefully the last time to say we are in good shape, we can get thumbs up, moving ahead for our veterinary medicine school, and that's where we continue to need your help, your support, your advocacy. I think you, like me, want students like Donovan, want students like Gabrielle, who graduated several years ago, to stay here in Maryland. We want to make sure that we bring those students home, we keep them here, and we have the opportunity for them to go through not just our pre-vet program, but others in the state, and then stay in the state to continue. Donovan wants to come back home eventually, and eventually he wants to be a veterinary doctor in the Wacomico area and be right here. So I end by just saying the investments you make in UMES will go far and wide and reach a number of students and help our communities. And thank you very much for that. I'll be happy to answer any questions later.
Thank you for sharing that story. It's wonderful. Next up, Washington College, Dr. Brian Matthews. And Dr. Matthews, apologies for not adding your professional designation. I should have proofread it a little better before we sent it out.
That's okay. I've been called much worse, and not losing any sleep over that one. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. And thank you to the delegation that has provided tremendous support for Washington College over the years, including recently, and we really appreciate it. It makes a difference. As you all know, over 50% of our students come from Maryland, so we are clearly, that is the majority of our focus from an enrollment and recruitment point of view. We are an economic engine for Chestertown, Kent County, and the Eastern Shore, and we recognize that responsibility and take it seriously. In my short time here, this is my second semester here, I am focusing on enrollment growth. Like all private liberal arts colleges, we face challenges, but they are not insurmountable. We need to improve and up our game, and that's what I am focused on at this point. One example of where the delegation has helped us tremendously and can in this short term. An example of what will help us with enrollment growth is the Wareheim Business School and the state capital grant that has helped, and we are hopeful for this year with that. Makes a huge difference for us. It's critical. It's an example of how you all help us directly in that kind of an example with bills that go across and things in your budget. Our innovation plant is another initiative that we have, which will help with enrollment growth. And also it's a workforce development opportunity and an opportunity for us to partner with the community in ways that Washington College has not always been able to do in the past. So we're very excited about that one. It's an entrepreneurship opportunity. It's partnership with local businesses and with the Chestertown community. So that's a big one for us. And that's both a programming, but also a construction project in the works that we will need funding. Certainly, the ongoing support for the Sellinger grant is a critical one for Washington College and private colleges in Maryland, and the history of support has been very much appreciated, and we still need that one. So we're hopeful that you all can fight that fight successfully too. And we realize in a state budget, all these are challenges on your end over there. With the upcoming 250th anniversary of the nation this year, it's a unique opportunity for Washington College as the first college in the new nation. We certainly are excited about opportunities for us as we want to raise our profile and market ourselves better out there, back to enrollment growth, and Washington College continuing to get better and to improve. One of the things there we're excited about is Governor Hogan's going to be our commencement speaker in May. And I'm excited about that one, as is our college. And I think that fits wonderfully with our connection to George Washington and the governor's connection and love for George Washington and all that goes with that. So I believe that's a great opportunity for us, and I'm excited about it. Internships and externships in the community on the Eastern Shore, businesses in the area. We are intentionally focused on increasing that. We've gotten a wonderful response from businesses, not just in Kent County, but on the Eastern Shore, for our students to not only get experience, but also future jobs. For them to work on to stay in this region, this area. And as we all know, the best way to do that is internships and externships and shadow programs. And so it's one of the areas we are focused on for 26 here. So we are absolutely going to be aggressive about how we can grow and how we can meet the challenges that we are faced at this time, but they are not insurmountable. And Washington College is going to continue to move upward and onwards. And the support that you all give us, and especially right now, as always, on a couple specific projects, with completing the Wareheim Business School with a state capital grant, and with the help you've given us with the innovation plan, and with the ongoing challenges with the Sellinger grant every year. Those things really make a difference, and we appreciate your support and your help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, Warwick Community College, Dr. Deborah Casey. Go Fins.
Thank you, Chair Adams. I appreciate it. And thank you to all of the delegation for the commitment that you make to our community colleges in Maryland. We appreciate you very much. I met yesterday with 10 students who are going to come for Student Advocacy Day, and their focus is on the promise. And we know last year we had 15 million in for the college promise, and then that was reduced to 13.5 million. And that's a big issue for us if it gets cut again, because those dollars help our students who need the greatest financial resources. So anything you can do to make sure that we don't have that promise funding cut anymore would be greatly appreciated. And you'll hear from them directly when they come for Student Advocacy Day. We have enrollment up about 10%. That's great. We have our dual enrollment up about 25%. So that's also great news. So enrollment is one of our focuses, and we're doing really well in making and bridging relationships with our school districts and making sure students that come from our local communities have the resources they need for the particular programs they're interested in. So with that completion opportunity, when I arrived at Warwick, we were at 19% completion rate. We then achieved 24% completion rate And now we are at 37% completion rate with the goal of 55% in the next year. That's important for you to know because we need to put in place various strategies to help more students be full-time students so they can complete sooner, stay on track, get their degree with us, and transfer to one of our four-year institutions as a junior. So that time to completion is so important in continuing to do that work. So Governor Moore worked in partnership with the proven programs and Arnold Ventures to offer opportunity in the state of Maryland for some of us to join alongside what's happening in the CUNY system called the Accelerated Study in Associate Programs. And it's helping more students be full-time and transfer to four-year institutions. So Warwick will be participating in this program where we want more full-time students and we provide the wraparound supports for them outside of the classroom to be successful in, finish that degree in 2 years and then transfer over. We have some new programs then we want to put in place to make that happen. Our STEM focus, alongside what Dr. Anderson was saying, is critical here on the Eastern Shore. We have a new program in computer science, an EAS degree that will be direct transfer. We have cybersecurity certificate we have in place. We want to shout out to the governor for his support for our cyber dollars that came through the budget process, and we want to retain dollars and ask for those dollars to be given to the community colleges so that we can continue with AAS degrees, in which Warwick has now put in place an AAS degree in cyber. And that cyber hub is one of the ways that will build the program for us. With our workforce programs, HVAC, we need more, so we're doing that as a new certification program. Electrotechnical is now an AAS degree, and we are putting in place an associate of science degree specifically in the health sciences because we have wait lists of people who want to get into the nursing cohorts on the Eastern Shore, and it's really hard for them to get into it. So we decided in the interim, while they're waiting to get into one of the nursing programs, having this Associate of Science and Health Science degree will allow them to complete a degree, and they can use that and still be working in the healthcare system while they're waiting to get into the nursing program. Criminal justice, as you know, here on the Eastern Shore, we are one of the main places for people to come to complete their law enforcement credentials, and we are still doing that and having great success with our numbers who are enrolling in that. We have the Disability Innovation Grant, and this aligns with the work that is happening in our school districts. We've been working alongside Wycomico County, and this is a federal grant. We are the only community college in the country that has this grant, and it is to help either students who were already in the juvenile justice system, students who may enter the juvenile justice system, or students who could potentially be coming out of the juvenile justice system. Warwick Community College is working with Wycomico County School District right now. We're going to do Somerset and Worcester as well. We have 30 students in 6 months that are now enrolled who had the potential to be in the juvenile justice system, who are choosing education. And so we're going to continue to grow that program, and hopefully those results will be an opportunity for others to follow in the same way, what we could do to pipeline students from high school to community colleges or four-year institutions. We had a 100% pass rate for our LPN NCLEX exam, and we continue to do what we need to do to make sure we follow the new guidance that will come out around Pell. So we thank you for everything you do for us. We continue to want to be in dialogue with you in ways in which we can support our local communities and workforce. Thank you for everything you do for us.
Thank you very much. And while I wait to see if there are any questions from the delegation, and there it is, Senator Croza. Good morning. Go right ahead.
Good morning, and I will be brief. Thank you so much to all our higher education presidents. So humbled to work with you in advancement for all of our students and their families. Two quick questions. One is for Dr. Anderson. We are so excited about the veterinarian school. My quick question on that is just a reminder of the timing of the approval process, and if there's anything we can continue to do to support that, as well as the funding. And then my second question is to Dr. Casey. we just had a briefing in in the Education Committee about trying to improve the transfer process. And I know it's pretty smooth between Warwick and other institutions of higher education, but the question of students not losing their credits. So just wanted to see if you had any other recommendations on how to improve the transfer process. So Dr. Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator, very much for that question. The timeline of the VET program is this. June 21st, the week of June 21st, the accrediting body will be sending a team to our campus to take a look at everything, the number of faculty we have on campus, the facilities, where the curriculum is, all the details. And so we're in the process of now preparing that particular document that has to go into them March 30th, which means that document needs to show what they're going to be coming to look at in June. We're taking existing resources, facilities right now, and that have been underutilized. We're revamping those and renovating those so they can be ready for that team to see when they get here. And where I need the support of the delegation is to make sure that our capital request stays in the budget, stays in there. I've been trying to ask for a little bit of it to be moved up that I could use in FY27 instead of 28. So anything you can do to help with that would be really grateful.
Thank you. And Jim Mathias has been great about keeping us up to date on that as well as he's pounding the pavement. So, but we definitely are working to protect the funding, see if some of that can be moved up. But I also think it's good that we know kind of that this is really moving, that they're coming and checking you out, and this is moving forward.
And Senator, I'll say one more thing is when they leave in June, they go back and we'll do a report. That report will come out in September. And our dean is pretty sure that they're going to come back and say, we are ready and we're going to grant you the authority to admit a class in summer of 2027. So that's why we're saying making momentum and showing them that this state is supporting us is so critical at this time.
Thank you. Thanks for your leadership on that.
Thank you, Senator.
And I'll be quick. Thank you, Senator Carrozza, for the question. Dr. Bolt already mentioned the Maryland Transfer Intensive. That is a partnership between the community colleges and four-year institutions. It really takes faculty sitting together and being able to talk about the curriculum. And so that's our work in building the relationships between our 2-year and 4-year partners and how faculty are at that table and a part of that. So 2 weeks ago, I went to our STEM initiative around this transfer pathway project. 21 faculty from us and SU were in the room together talking about how do we finish a 2-year degree at Warwick. What is the curriculum they need that they will automatically transfer in as juniors to SU, right? So that takes the faculty sitting and creating that. So Dr. Lepre and I were in the room, we listened, we said, we want this to happen between our two institutions. How do we do that? Let's do that together and then let them do that work. So right now we have over 30 programs that are being worked on together between Warwick and SU for direct transfer in as juniors. We know the data shows that if students are at the community colleges and complete a 2-year degree with us and they transfer to a 4-year institution as a junior, their rate of success to complete that degree is very high. So that's what we want to continue to see grow. So through MHEC's commitment and Aspen's commitment around the transfer process, that's what we're working on. How do we break down the barriers that are preventing that from happening and work alongside the faculty to support them in doing it?
And you mentioned the 30 programs with faculty working through with Salisbury University. You have similar arrangements with University of Maryland Eastern Shore?
Absolutely. Engineering with University of Maryland across the bridge, and also with the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We have great partnerships with them. The Vet Tech program, we do all the pre-work for them, and then we hand them off over to hopefully the new veterinary building, right? So that's just an example, but we do have the partnerships here also with a number of others in the state of Maryland.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
Senator Mounts.
Thank you. Dr. Morales Wilhelm, are you still on?
I am. How are you?
Good to
Senator
see you
Mark.
this morning. I'm doing well, doing well. And I'm glad to hear that the tide has kind of turned. And I appreciate you bringing up the hatchery and all the work that's being done in in the area of oyster recruitment and that sort of thing. I'd encourage you to not during session because we're busy now, but to maybe reach out to some of us in the delegation who are deeply involved in in all sorts of fishery issues, but particularly the oysters. And maybe we can have a discussion and work together. I was surprised to hear about the funding reduction. There are a lot of things that are going on in the world of hatcheries, in addition to the fishery. I just, these are not things you can address after the fact. You want to be ahead of the curve. And I think there's a lot to offer as far as, our input, our thoughts, and our ways that, we can work together, especially with regards to the money that we're putting into oyster recruitment, and the money that we put into oyster recruitment that's been successful versus the funding that has not been successful. There's some really deep things that are going on. I just wanted to thank you for bringing that up and your work there. And I wanted to encourage you to reach out to us to make sure that you know that we're very much involved in all things oyster also. And I'm not sure Delegate Jacobs is on this call. He chairs something called the Waterman's Caucus. And I think it would be good for you to have that connection and that input back and forth because that federal budget's going to change. There are going to be a lot of moving parts at the federal level. Meanwhile, there are a lot of moving parts here at the local level in the hatchery world and in the oyster world.
Well, thank you, Senator, very much for this position, and we'll definitely be following up with you and others. I'm cautiously optimistic that we will get to a positive place. But as you say, lots of moving parts, and timing is of the essence. So thanks again. We'll be doing that and following up.
Yeah, and you have expert help in Dave Namazi. Dave knows very well, and he does a great job. So I look forward to having those conversations with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, to our university and college presidents, it's a pleasure to hear about the partnership and the working together on the Eastern Shore to advance the interests of our future leaders. And whether it's students from the Eastern Shore, state of Maryland, the country, and internationally, it truly is. If they can dream it, they can do it through our academic institutions on the shore. And what a pleasure to hear from you in a concise way with all the institutions participating today. Thank you for that. Next up, we have our federal updates. So I'm going to go down the list here. I see Mike Detmer with Andy Harris's office.
Good morning. This is Jackie. I'll be providing the update this morning.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see everyone. Our office is currently taking requests for community funding projects. In general, the Congressman's funding priorities support volunteer fire departments and critical municipal infrastructure, but we'll entertain any applicant we hear from and work with them. If you know of anyone who has a request, the best thing to do is reach out to Keith Graffius directly or Mark Brown, and I'll provide you with those emails that you can provide to anyone who has any of those requests. Also, our art competition is kicking off soon. We'll be sharing information about that soon. We don't have anything official out yet for this year, but if you know someone who's interested in starting to work on a project, we do have last year's rules on our website, and they don't really change from year to year, so you can just direct that to them there. Also, of course, tax season is kicking off. If you encounter any constituents who are having issues with the IRS, please send them directly to our office for assistance. The IRS is again offering free tax services to lower income individuals as well as seniors, and you can find locations for those centers on the IRS website. Just do a search for IRS free tax assistance. So you may have heard that the Trump administration is rolling out $1,000 accounts for babies born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028. Eligible families need to complete an IRS Form 4547 to claim the accounts, which will become activated on July 4th of this year. Finally, just a reminder that we have congressional flags and citations available for special occasions and events. Any constituent can make these requests, or you can make requests by going directly to our website at harris.house.gov, or you can just call our office and we'll help you with that. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Okay, next up, Alyssa Hastings, Senator Van Hollen's office.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. No further updates from our office at this time. Hope you all have a good day. Thanks.
Okay, and Kim Cradaville.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in the interest of time, just once again, these meetings are always so helpful for us for the great information that we hear here. Also, congressionally directed spending, both of our websites have congressionally directed spending information up. So please reach out. You know where to find us if you need anything. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks to the federal partners. Senator Mouch, you had a item for the good of the order.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as a federal delegation, please stay on. If you guys, and thank you for those updates. But as most people know on the call, and I know Delegate Jacobs is on the call, the oyster fishery this year has been a disaster. It's been a disaster in that there's been no market. Typically, they're given a number of days they can go out and harvest. The market has been closed. People are not buying Maryland oysters. The average waterman is getting 1 day of work a week, sometimes 2 days of work a week. I believe the qualification for disaster relief is I'm not sure what that qualification is, but I understand we would more than qualify for disaster relief. And the suggestion would be, I have a draft letter, is to have the shore delegation contact Governor Moore to request disaster relief for the commercial, the public fishery for the commercial oystermen and women. Now the bay is frozen over, so we're going to have additional evidence to make this disaster request. And I just wanted to put it out there for the delegation to see if we could agree to send that letter and to Governor Moore, and then also request the assistance of our federal representatives to help us in processing that request, because the economic crisis is right now for a lot of these folks. Their money months when they make money is, November, December, and starts tapering off in January. But they had no market in November and December. So that's my proposal for the delegation. I'm not sure how you want to handle it.
Okay, Chairman of the Waterman's Caucus, Jay Jacobs, your hand's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to Senator Mouch, this has been a very difficult year with the oyster season. It's the worst I've ever seen in my lifetime, with limited market that we had during Thanksgiving and Christmas. But what we're dealing with right now, besides this freeze up, pretty much every town is frozen in. It's going to be for 2 weeks at least. But we also have a major spill in the Potomac, which is really causing a lot of angst in the business. There are processors or shucking houses that have lost big accounts because of this reason, because the scare is out there in the public. You got E. coli standard or numbers that are off the chart in the Potomac. And it doesn't matter what part of the state you have a problem like that. When everybody hears it, they just don't eat oysters. And so that's adding fuel to the fire, so to speak. And I think it's perfectly legitimate that we make this request for disaster relief, because I think this over 200 million gallons of raw sewage in the Potomac, as we speak, has been a major problem on top of a very tough and very difficult oyster season this year.
Okay, Senator Mouch, what I would recommend would be to go ahead and help me or help our office draft that letter. Why don't we send that out to the members like we do during the interim? I think that'd be the fastest way to get what it is you're after, which is our approval to send that letter and do it as quickly as possible. So would you be in agreement with doing that?
I just sent it to your public email address.
Okay, all right. So members, what we'll do, we'll get that going and get that in front of you. Please respond with any questions or concerns as soon as possible so we can send the letter to the to the governor. Anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Yep, and I need a second.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn is accepted. Have a good day, everyone, and